yesteryear. We're on the Hebrew date, the 18th of Kislev, as we say in Hebrew, Yud Chet Kislev. It marks the Hilul of a great Kabbalist from Morocco. His name was Rabbi Shlomo Tanji Z'tl, one of the great rabbis from Morocco during the 1800s in of itself and early 1900s. Now, he passed away, I'm not too sure the exact year in of itself. It was around the late 1920s, possibly early 1930s in of itself. He was a great rabbi. And it's actually interesting, we're going to talk about how his body actually moved to the land of Israel in the year 2010, to be precise, around the period of November 2010 in of itself. Now, he was a great rabbi. I believe the family were from Morocco, from various different areas, especially Marrakesh in of itself. Very great Torah community it had in of itself at that point in time. Now, the legend actually says that he used to study with Elijah the prophet. This is what there's been various testimonies, and it's a well-documented, let's just say, knowledge in of itself, that while he was such a great Torah scholar, he was at such a great stature in of itself, he would study at night with the prophet Elijah. Very, very great. In fact, it's reported over that there happened to be an Arab maid that used to work in various, I think, in the house of Rav Shlomo in of itself, and discovered this and actually publicized this in of itself, and it became a well-known thing. It's also, he was so great, it's reported over that he actually knew the day he would pass away, and he actually engraved the date of, let's say, the date he would pass away on a heart-shaped stone. And let's say this stone, I think, is actually used even to modern day in of itself. I think in Jerusalem it's actually situated in of itself, and they say that it brings a specific segula. It was reported over that if someone's going to hold it and make a tefillah in of itself, there will be answer of tefillah in of itself. But he was very, very great. Another thing reported over from the family in of itself, he had a special talit, which I think is now located by his grandchildren in the area of Beit She'an in Israel in of itself, and has on it the writings of the Shema Yisrael, let's say, embroidered on it in of itself. And I think this talit is more than 110 years old at this point in time, if I'm not mistaken, made of wool. And despite, let's just say, obviously it's been around for more than 100 years, you'd expect it to be totally worn, it still has a very pleasant smell in of itself and didn't rot at all, which is a miracle in of its own right. I believe he passed away in English year 1930. Now, what's interesting, or around that time period, in the 18th of Kislev. But what's interesting is that they brought his remains to Israel for burial after many, many years. This was in 2010. And when they transferred the body, they also transferred the body and the body of his brother, Rabbi Abraham Tanji, another really great rabbi from Morocco, who hopefully maybe we will speak about in a separate class, maybe at one stage later on. When they moved the body, they discovered the body was totally intact, which is a miracle in of itself, untouched by, let's say, worms or maggots in of itself. Just shows a great stature of the great level these great rabbis were. And they ended up having a burial in the Givat Shaul in the Tzaddikim section. I believe actually he was buried next to another great rabbi. I think another great rabbi from Meknes, if I'm not mistaken, originally. Rabbi Habib Toledano, very, very great rabbi, and a rabbi I believe we've spoken about on various occasions before. So he was buried, I think, in the vicinity of those burial plots, along with Rabbi Habib Toledano. And it just shows what a great rabbi he happened to be, and left apparently very, very great descendants. Actually, I think this funeral procession actually started from the house of Chacham Ovadia Yosef at that point in time. Rav Ovadia Yosef was more than 3 years before he had passed away, and the funeral procession started in the vicinity of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. There's still, I believe, hilulot even in modern day, which actually takes place where many of the great rabbis, I think even in the year 2016 reported over, there was a Hilula event in memory of the great rabbi, of Rabbi Tanji Z'tl, and the current, that point in time, the Rishon LeZion, Rabbi Yitzchak Yosef, the chief rabbi, attended it, and many, many great rabbis attended. So this funeral procession of itself was led, I think, by Hacham Ovadia Yosef. He came at that point in time, and many of the great rabbis came on that specific day And it just shows a miracle when the Hebra Kadisha, I think in Morocco, themselves were astonished when they dug up those grave sites at that point in time to bring the bodies to see it was still intact. It was absolutely very, very, wondrous that this actually took place. And I believe he was buried eventually in Har HaMenuchot in Jerusalem. That's a Mount of Rest's burial plot in Jerusalem in of itself. And obviously it was attended by many of the great rabbis. And I think that specific date in 2010, many of the extended Tanji family members, they came, many of them I think are prominent rabbanim, and they came to pay their respects for the great rabbi. And please, Yud Chet Kislev, friends, is the great rabbi's Hilula. Don't forget to light candles in his memory. If you happen to be related to any of these rabbis we are speaking about, we've already covered the history, a short tidbit on the history of about 550 rabbanim. Please send me an email. I would love to hear more. We've covered around 80 Moroccan rabbis already inside this series. We are a community here. We love learning about the history of the great rabbis of yesteryear, the inspiration and the greatness of these were the greatest people in the world in their generations. Please, if you feel anyone will be interested in watching these videos, share the videos to other people, and wishing all blessings here from Israel, and take care and be well.